What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Joust tier list for Smite 2. And today we have Open Beta 21. It's been about 6 patches since we've done one of these. Open Beta 15, almost 7 actually, because Open Beta 22 is coming out next week with Sylvanas, and then eventually Daji, and then I think another hunter like Nut or someone else. Ishtar, as people have been saying. Anyways, here we are, 6, almost 7 patches later. I'm going to go over Sylvanas at the end of this video if you want to go ahead and skip till that part to see what I think about him, because he is coming out next week and we kind of understand what he's going to be doing. His aspect and everything is going to be a carry / guardian, which is going to be fun, and I kind of know how he's played from Smite 1 and how he fits into Joust along with his new things. I don't know for sure how he's going to be once he releases. You know, we've had a lot of gods who I thought, you know, initially released weren't going to be good or bad, and then, you know, changed my mind because of what we see. Anyways, I think I know where he's going to be, just so we can cover Open Beta 22, because again, like I said, I do these Joust tier lists every so often, like 4 to 5, 6, 7 even sometimes patches in between, just so that we, you know, I don't have to do an Open Beta Joust tier list every single patch, because I don't think it's needed for what we're doing, because most of the things, you know, are small pretty much for the changes, except out of a couple gods. It would be better for me to do that in almost every facet, but I think it's better just to do it every 4 to 6 patches, and when I mean like every facet, I mean like it would be better on numbers wise, and you know, for my channel wise, it would be better for me to do it. But with the small incremental changes, you know, they get like, you know, some small buffs and nerfs each patch, and then new god releases. There's like not too many things. Obviously I could make them, but I like doing them every 4 to 6 patches at this point. And so here we are with Open Beta 21. If you're new here, we can go ahead and get into it and explain what's going on. If you are not new, then you know, skip this part or just skip to the end, because I know a lot of people do, which is fine. Anyways, into the explanation of this tier list if you're new here. So we have 5 tiers. We have S tier, or S plus, which is broken, pretty obvious there. S tier list, or S tier is going to be your top picks. So these are going to be your priority picks. There's no bans in it, which sucks, but you know, if you know, in ranked Joust, for example, you'd ban these, and then after that you'd ban some gods in S tier, but we don't have that. So in S tier is just gonna be your top picks. A plus is going to be your above average. I don't know why it's like that. Above average, so most of your gods that are obviously, you know, middle of the road, but just slightly above or significantly above, but not so much to where it's like S tier. A is going to be average / mid. I added this mid part just so we get an understanding that average or like middle of the road, like, you know, not the greatest. You're not going to be able to do a lot with them, and so a lot of the times most of your gods are going to fit in between A plus and A. A lot of it actually is in S tier too, so there's a wide spread of gods here, and then B is just below average, so not very good. You're not going to do much with them. But again, I like to reiterate, or I like to try to reiterate every single time I do these, that you can make any of these gods work in any game mode, even Joust. Just when you compare all of these gods together and you put them into a tier list, some are just going to be better for that game mode like Joust. And so again, you can make any of these gods work with specific team comps, builds, or whoever you're going up against. But you know, you put all these against each other on a stacked team, like a team comp against another team comp, you know, evenly skilled. Some of these guys are going to be better or worse than others. And I think that's everything that I got to go. Oh, and you can see that a lot of these gods are pre-selected in here. Again, this is from the previous patch and where I put them in, and now we're just going to basically rearrange them, swap them out, and then you can see the gods over here that we haven't gone over yet, and we'll put them on the tier list. We'll have a very fun time doing this. So yeah, this is from Open Beta 15 on Open Beta 21/22, sort of. We'll talk about Sylvanas at the end. It won't be in here, but I'll talk about him, and then we should be good to go. So let's go ahead, start out with your S plus a broken tier list, and then we'll get into this god pool at the end. So starting out with Aphrodite. Now, I think in open beta 15, she was a lot different than she was now. And even in open beta 15, I think like a few weeks after I did this tier list, I felt that I made a mistake with Aphrodite. I believe open beta 15 was when the new healing changes were made, or right around that time, I believe. And she's just not the same as she was once in open beta 15. Or pre that, she's just not the same. And although she's still very good in Joust, because you're always going to be near your team, you're always going to be able to save your team with your ult, your 3 healing, your 1 stun. She has incredible cooldowns, especially with the healing items that have been added to this game. Her healing got nerfed a lot. It's not as good. In fact, if you played ESET Aspect, I argue, is better than Aphrodite's heal. That is not to knock that she is a very good god, but I don't believe she's an S+ tier broken anymore. I'd go ahead and put her in S. In other game modes, I would probably put her lower. You know, like even in Arena, specifically Conquest 2, I definitely put her maybe A+. But because in Joust, you're always going to be near your team comps, you're always going to be able to play her well with like a tank build or even a full damage build. I don't suggest doing that, but a tanky hybrid build with her is going to be very good. I'm going to bring it down to S. Now, some people might disagree because she doesn't do... there's a lot of people struggle with her, I think. So I can see that argument, and I may put her down to A+ because of that, but even a decent Aphrodite can do so many things. It's absolutely crazy what she can do with a team comp with your ult, all the actives, and you still heal, stun, all the knockback with her too. She's still very good. Okay, she's still very good. So I'm gonna bring her from S+ to S top pick. Sobek staying here. I don't think he's ever gonna move, like, until they nerf him, or which they're not going to at this point. I'm pretty sure Hi-Res thinks he's in a good spot, but when they added the I'm gonna keep saying it, when they added the execute, a better Achilles execute, because all you have to do is use your ult and wait, he's just become the best god in Joust, in my opinion. Not only that, you can do so much damage with him. Your 3-2 does an absurd amount of damage. His 3 now ticks over time, which wasn't a thing in SMITE 1. He's got his pluck, which you can, you know, literally pluck someone and win the game, because you just pluck them, bring them in the back, and your team detonates them, destroys them. I mean, there's really nothing that is wrong with him. He's got everything that you would want and more. Damage, CC, and execute, so you kill tanks too. And all the items that you can bring with him, like I mean, it's not as good as it once was, but Mystical Sanguine still a very good combination with him, because you're always in there. You're gonna be doing so much damage. Healing items like Spirit Robe, he procs what is that, the boots called, the healing boots, Rigo Striders, they changed that name, I always get that name mixed up. Rigo Striders, he procs that with Spirit Robe. I mean, there's so many things you can do with him. Yogi's Mask is really good in Joust, so he just never dies. He's definitely the one of the best gods in this game, so he's gonna stay here. If you're gonna want to win games, you play Sobek, because he just does everything that you want. Princess Bari, interestingly enough, I think is still an S tier pick. She has one of the worst win rates confirmed by Hi-Res. I think the worst win rate from Hi-Res. I think all the way from Plat and upwards in Conquest, in Rank Conquest. And that's a very wide gap from Plat all the way to Deity. And yeah, she's one of the worst win rates. And I don't think she's bad at all, because I used her a lot when I was playing Rank Conquest from last patch before the soft reset, and up until the end of that part of the rank split, I was like 17-1 with her. Like I went from gold to obsidian just playing her, because I felt like she was so good. You build her full damage, either full intelligence or strength. I usually opted in the strength because it did more damage. You didn't have as much CC, or I'm sorry, you didn't have as much CDR or utility with her with the intelligence build, but you did so much damage. You don't need to build her an ADC. Her full damage build is just so much better in my opinion. And I would just fry. I mean, I'd be the one doing top damage. I use my ult to save my team all the time and win games because of that. Just having a single singular good burial can win you an entire team fight, and then win you the entire game, because after you win a fight, you can go to fire and then just fucking snowball from there. You can even go to gold, whatever. Anyways, I think she's really good regardless of the horrible win rate that she has. She's gotten a recent buff. Nothing's changed with her in my opinion, and so I even played her in Joust a few times, carried games with it. I mean, like, if you've seen my last bar game that I posted on this channel, as it was tilted, I still carried the entire game. I don't know. I'm still going to keep her here regardless of the win rate. She's still very good because of her ult. Her amount of damage she can throw out is absolutely wild. So she's staying in S tier top picks, in my opinion. Apollo's going to stay here too. Even his ADC build is getting better. A lot of ADCs... not a lot of ADCs. There's another ADC in this tier list that we'll be going over that I think has gone up a bit, and same with Apollo's ADC build. It's very good, but not specifically for Joust. What makes him an S tier pick? It's his aspect build. As I've gone on about before, you go Eros bow, full health build, and you kind of just do what the hell you want. You have your ult, which can grab people and go straight to Bull Demon or Lost Knight and just do that. He's like one of the best tanks. You can, very similar to Aphrodite, you can use your arrows bow and just heal the enemy team, or heal your team with minion waves and stuff like that. It's been nerfed from it, not the item itself, but more so the healing changes has nerfed it. But I think there was a nerf on Aerospell at one point, but that was a while ago. He's still very good. The amount of damage he can pump out, he's very safe. He uses his 2 and his aspects, gives his team a shield. It mezzes them, sets your team up, all that good stuff. The only thing that I would say that isn't great with him is the fact that he builds a health build, which means Soul Reaver and Heartseeker, if you're going full damage, is going to do a fuck ton of damage. And the new item that does 15%, I don't remember the item's name, 15% max health damage on an enemy god. It's an active and everything, so even more items to kind of counter him. So you got to be careful about that. And super, you can counter him a lot with those items if you play that correctly and buy those items. Along with the build path with that, Soul Reaver and Heartseeker, you do want to build more intelligence / strength base because they scale off of that. And Soul Reaver sort of scales off of the difference in health, so you don't want to build health along with Soul Reaver. Anyways, I'm getting into weeds of it. Either way, Apollo is really, really good, and I think he's still S tier. Medusa is going to be your best ADC. Nothing's really changed with her. The amount of damage she can pump out. Maybe that she has a more full damage build that's kind of changed her. She can kind of go that too, but I still think the ADC build is better. Not much really changed with her. She's still got that oppressive ult. The reason why she's an S tier pick is she just synergizes with your team really well, does a lot of damage. Her ult's really good, a decent getaway. Her 3 now counters Ares. Most, if not all, gods that have that sort of, what's the word? They changed the CC so many times. Knock-up immunity, and we're just going to call it knock-up immunity. I don't remember what it's called, but you get knock-up immunity in your 3. You get knock-up immunity in Xbalanque's 3. You get knock-up immunity in Eset's 1, and it counters Ares ult. So, if you time it right. So, things like that make her even better. Cabrakan was an S tier pick. I think he's S plus broken. Now, again, this is open beta 21. They're going to nerf Cabrakan. I can almost guarantee it in future patches, but currently his aspect does an absurd amount of damage. If you don't know, aspect of rotund whatever, I don't know what it's called, basically turns him into Loki. His 1 makes him invisible. His 2 scales off of damage now, so you do your refractor shield, you do that, and then once you do damage, you hit it again, and then it does even more damage based on how much damage you've done. His 3 basically throws out an old Loki 2. It throws out like a cast of himself, a ghost of himself, and from a mile away you can just do so much damage, a wide range, and it ticks like every 0.5 seconds or some shit. So you're doing so much damage over time if you go full damage field, which you should go. And then his ult basically is a Loki ult. You teleport a little bit in front of you and then you throw out your ult, so you don't even need to be near someone to throw out your ult anymore. You can just pop it, basically have a blink, and then ult. So realistically, you could blink, ult, and then you could like reach somebody across the map and just one-shot them. He's absolutely gross in every single game mode. Specifically, Conquest 2, going jungle Kabrakan is absolutely absurd. But even in Joust, he's really good. Once they nerf him, he'll definitely change. So, you know, pay attention to what open beta we're on, because as of right now, open beta 21, he's super disgusting. Agni's going to stay in S tier. Both of his, you know, aspect and non-aspect does so much damage. His non-aspect, obviously, having a ranged mage with a very solid getaway is super good. Going full intelligence in that build is really good. That's really pretty much it. He just does a lot of damage from far away. He's super safe. He has a, you know, stun in his one and stuff like that when you pair it with your other abilities. So he's just like your go-to top damage, good safety mage, and I think he's going to be one of your best ones to do that with. Baron, specifically aspect version, and even non-aspect version, they're still very good. I think his aspect version would go in S tier, and his regular version would probably go into A+ tier. That would be like his regular kit, where you can go like hybrid tank build, and I still think it'd be very good. However, his aspect does an absurd amount of damage, and I think that nothing's really changed with him. Not necessarily S+ tier, but he does a fuck ton of damage going full intelligence, or, you know, full damage. And so I think he's going to be one of your best mages in Joust right now. Not a lot of people play him, but he does a lot of damage. For the amount of mobility that he has, he does have like speed up, movement speed and stuff like that. But outside of that, you know, he has CC immunity and ult. But outside of that, he doesn't have a lot of mobility. But even with that, his aspect covers those bases, the amount of damage he does with his Hysteria. Absolutely gross. Ares I would have put into S+ tier broken, from upwards from open beta 15 to 21, in between there, like right around 1920, maybe 18, open beta 18, 19, 20. He was super good. However, they nerfed him a little bit, and I think that brings him into S tier, just so we understand why I still keep him here, even though he got a nerf. He was just really good at some point. He had a bug in his ult, which I talked about earlier with Medusa, where you could ult and it would cripple them, which wasn't supposed to happen. So, you know, being able to 3 out of Ares ult is supposed to be a thing. Now isn't, or it wasn't, so you could ult and it crippled the enemy, which was not supposed to happen. They fixed it. Now you can use your mobility knock-up immunity abilities, like I said, Medusa 3, Shibalanke 3, and now you won't get crippled, as far as I'm aware. Because I haven't played into an area since that buff happened, or I haven't paid attention enough to play a god that you can do that. Anyways, they said that you're able to now, so with that, I think that brings him back down to S. He's still a very good god. One of your highest DPS full tank supports, who also, you know, has a lot of CC, so you can do a lot of damage with him, and he's super tanky and can set up or peel for your team pretty easy. Not as good as some of the other ones, or as easy as some of the other ones. Again, you got to hit your chains and stuff like that, but he's still S tier pick. Amma, why did I put Amma in S, huh? I guess she was just that good in open beta 15. I disagree. I honestly think she's probably average mid. For the people who are Amma enjoyers, I'm sorry, I don't think she's that good. Which is weird, because usually it's Bellona that isn't as good as Amaterasu, but I think Bellona is currently better than Amma. What a fall from grace. I don't remember what I said for the reason she was S tier, but I don't think she's that great. You can get things done with her, and if you're a good Amma, you can kind of counteract these things. And if you're a good Amma, I'd probably put her in A+. She just doesn't do much. I don't know how else to explain it. It's always Amma and Bellona I feel weird about putting into a tier list, because I feel like they're always changing, yet they follow each other, and sometimes they don't. Amma's better than Bellona at some points. Bellona is better than Amma at some points. And I've always said that, like, you know, if Amma is usually just like a slightly better version than Bellona, but sometimes she's not. I don't know. And in this instance, I don't think Amma is as good as Bellona right now. She just doesn't have that presence. Her abilities are fine. They do what they do. She just doesn't have that presence currently right now that Bellona does with her abilities, and the items that she builds into, I think are for Bellona are better than Amma, which is why I think Bellona is better than Amma currently. Yeah, she doesn't bring that much to the table currently, and I think that's just a meta change. They're gonna constantly flip up and down throughout the patches, but you know, Amma's gotten her aspect changed and nerfed. So up until that point when she was first released, she was broken, but then they nerfed her and slightly gotten worse. Lifesteal and healing has changed a little bit. Some of the items that are good in this patch don't really fit her as well as it would for Bellona, for example. Like Devo's Gauntlet is really good with her. I'm thinking of Conquest, but in Joust, you know, there are other items that just aren't really good on her that are better than Bellona. But like Devo's Gauntlet, Umbral Link, there was a lot of lifesteal items that a lot of the solo laners would pick. Doesn't really translate over to Joust as much. Like Devo's Gauntlet isn't as great. But even then, some of the items that you pick up just fit better. Like, you know, a lot of the other items like Sanguine, I think, is better on Bellona with like Umbral Link. I think just fit Bellona better. She does more damage with her abilities more consistently. Amma and her 2 and her 3 just aren't as significant as Bellona's, in my opinion, currently with the itemization that they've brought. So, long-winded answer, Amma's not doing as great, sorry. Uller, I'm going to bring down to A. I think that I always do this thing with him where I think he's just going to perpetually be an A+ unless things change. But currently, Uller is really good. He just does the same old, but he is so hard to play for new players or even some intermediate players. I don't even play him that great, but I can do things with him. But I kind of balance that because he can, if you're like a good Uller, you can one-shot, and I think he's a tier pick for you. A+ for most other people who don't play him at that high level. Still very good though. Hercules, I'm going to keep in S, borderline S+ with the new relic. Well, not new relic, but the relic in Joust that you can go with him. What is it called? The feather. I don't actually know what the relic's called, but the golden feather that you can do. You can jump, basically. That one is really good on him. Being able to use that, proc that relic, go up. It's almost like a mini blink every 15 seconds, which is disgusting on him. Which allows you to have, every time when you have your 2 up, you can just press that button, grab someone, and then pull them out. I'm going to have a video on that soon, but that's what really makes him really good. And I think with that pairing, he's almost S+ tier. Not quite, but he's up there. And on top of that, he was already one of your top warriors anyways. Nothing's really changed with him, so he's still going to be S tier, top S tier. I'm not grading based on that, but if I were to put him, he'd probably be top S tier. Merlin, I'm going to bring down to A+. Merlin was way better, I think, in Open Beta 15 than he was in than now. I still think he's very good, but just there are other mages that I think do better than him with the type of builds that we have, especially in Joust. But once he gets late game, you can kind of fry with him. At this point, I thought his aspect was a lot better, and it was. In Open Beta 15, it really was, but now his non-aspect, I think, is a little bit better, just being able to have that consistency currently with the itemization and the gods that he's going up against, new gods going up against, I think is better for A+. He's gonna stay there. Odin's gonna stay here too. He still has that minus 100% in his ult anti-heal. I don't know if I said that. Minus 100% anti-heal in his ult, which can counter a lot of healing gods or itemization. You know, there's a lot of self-healing in the meta for Joust currently for tanks or hybrid builds. You know, Yogis, Spirit Robe, Regrowth Striders if you want to build that, depending on the god if you can. I mean, these two gods can go Regrowth Striders as they both have healing in their kit. Non-aspect Kabrakan, that is. And Sobek is 3. Hercules has healing. Aphrodite has healing. Apollo has healing in the Eros bow. Baron has healing. You know, all these gods have a lot of healing, so Odin's going to be sort of that anti-meta a lot of the times because of his anti-heal, because of his anti-heal in his ult. There's not another god or any other item in this game that has minus 100, except Osiris. I forgot Osiris. There's a select few of gods that can do 100% anti-heal, and I think they're going to be really good. And Odin is one of them. He's super tanky, has a lot of damage as well with his 3. They've been buffing the shit out of him over the course of all the open betas, not recently, but still matters because he does a significant amount of damage and changes with him. So I think he's going to be S tier. Definitely one of your top picks, especially if you're going up against a healing team. It's going to be really, really valuable. Hou Yi hasn't really changed either. They've nerfed him a little bit. But even with the nerfs, like to his 3 jump distance, to the damage in his aspect, to the damage in his non-aspect, I believe, he's still very, very good. His changes to his ult with the wall on his ult has just been absolutely huge. The changes to his 3 where he slowly glides is going to be still very good. And Hou Yi was always a good god in Joust, being able to bounce and stuff like that. So he's still going to be a S tier pick, always a good pick in almost any team comp if you're playing Hunter. And his aspect's pretty solid too. Scylla is going to stay in S tier too, not only because of her aspect or non-aspect, but because of her aspect. Scylla can actually go pretty tanky and still do a lot of damage. If you go a mana build, it scales with her ult, and she has 3 charges of her ult in her aspect. So you can still do a lot of damage, be annoying as fuck with low CDR, and you can set up with her 1, and like I said, you do a lot of damage. She's super safe too, so she could be a frontliner as much as she can be a backliner in her non-aspect. So she's gonna be S tier. She's gonna be good in almost any team comp, any type of build for any placement outside of maybe ADC. So she's definitely gonna be S tier. Cupid, I'm gonna bring down to A+. Nothing's really changed much with him. I think maybe just the matchups and new guys that have changed. I think he's still top A+, borderline S. I think some of the changes with itemization, whether nerfs and buffs, new items and stuff like that, that either make him worse. In this instance, I think make him worse. And then some of the other guys that have been implemented, Sun Wukong, Jormungandr, Eset. I mean, these gods that are going to be able to shut him down is really what I think's kind of put him down to A+. So, I mean, he's still your top of the food chain kind of hunter, but you do got to be careful with him because he can be shut down and, things of that nature. I'm trying to remember what the item is called. I always forget the item, but it's usually your first item that you kind of go, uses a lot of mana, does extra damage. Sunbeam Bow, that's what I meant to say. So Sunbeam Bow is going to be very good on him. It's good on most hunters. I wanted to put that in. Forgot to put that in, so... Anyways, moving on. That's gonna be your S tier. Okay, we're moving along here. We got next up we have is Achilles. I'm gonna put him in S. I think Achilles is super good right now. I still think that double tank meta is gonna be better for you, or double hybrid, whatever. Generally speaking, it's probably gonna be better. Having a lot of CC in this game mode is what wins you games. You are stacked together, so the amount of CC you can bring to the table and allows you to shut down your team or the enemy team and do more damage is probably going to be the best for you. However, that's not to say that your other team comps are going to be bad. So your traditional type of team comp, 1 tank, 1 hunter, 1 mage, sort of variation of that. 1 damage dealer, 1 DPS, attack speed, and a support, basically, is what I'm trying to say here. I think having double tank is going to be very good, and the amount of damage he throws out with a lot of the new gods and being able to combo with him, it's going to bring him into S tier pick. And he has an execute. Not as good as Sobek's execute, which is why he's not up there, but still an execute is going to be very valuable against a lot of the tanks as well. All right, Mordred I'm going to keep here. Mordred hasn't changed much either. He still does a lot of damage, has a global ult basically with his second part of his charged ult. Still does a lot of damage, very good tank. I mean, what more can you ask, I guess? Still think he's going to be A+, not S tier. I think they did some nerfs on him. Anyways, he's still a very good god, and I don't hate it when he's on my team. I actually like it a lot, so he's gonna be in A+. Cerberus is actually gonna go down to A. I don't think he's doing good at all. His aspect isn't all that great for Joust 2, just for the simple fact that Joust is now a shorter game mode, so you're not gonna be able to, stack your passive with your heads, making your 2 longer. So that's not gonna be good. That's already bad. And then already in his basic kit, he's just not as great. You can kind of shut him down a lot. His damage and his presence just isn't all there from Smite 1. I don't know, he's just not that tanky either. I think a lot of tanks are having that issue though too. So I think Cerberus falls into that trap too. Does, you know, he's good. He can do things. He's not as great as he was though. Okay, I don't know why that happened. Anyways, on to Neith. All right, so she is an exception to a lot of the gods in that she always gets played a lot. She does a lot of damage still. I think I'm gonna keep her in A plus, just because she can still be shut down. She doesn't have the best getaway. I don't know. I'm trying to think very much to Princess Bari and why I think Princess Bari is better than Neith, and I think just because of her Princess Bari's ult and extra DPS she can pull out. Because Princess Bari doesn't have a getaway, basically. Neith's getaway is honestly better than hers. She has her 3 maybe, but the amount of damage she can throw out and her ult being able to save her and her team changes the dynamic between her and Neith. Neith's ult's fine, it's good, it can, you know, hit from a global standpoint, but I just don't think she has as much damage. Her ult isn't as good, and her getaway, even though it's a better getaway than Bari's, her getaway isn't that great, to be honest. You got to play her specifically. You play against her when she's going to use her 3, and you can kind of kill her a lot. So, still very good though. A plus, above average. Aladdin, I think, is very similar to Uller in that he played at a high level is going to be one of your best gods in the game, but at a intermediate beginner level, he's still going to be solid, just not all that great. I guess maybe intermediate level, or even high level, he's above average. A low level god or low level person, beginner, intermediate playing this would probably be lower on the tier list. So I'm going to stick with like the very similar to Uller, kind of go in between just to showcase the difference in skill and what he can bring. But Aladdin still can be very broken in the right hands. In the wrong hands, dog water. But overall, I think his kit is very good, above average. I think you can do a lot with him, even if you're not the best Aladdin. He's got so much mobility, damage, and his ult is one of the best in the game. Geb going straight down to A, average mid. He is so mid. I don't really know what changed. I think there's just other guys that do what he does better currently. The amount of damage he does is fine. His 3 is good, I will say. I just don't think he's all that great compared to a lot of other gods and the itemizations that they bring. Geb can do damage, but not like a Sobek or a Kabrakan. He's very similar with Cerberus. He can be shut down pretty easily. His aspect I don't think is good for Joust. It's whatever. It's more fun, I suppose, but you want knock up in his 2, and without that, I don't think it makes Geb all that great. So please don't. If you want to win the game, don't pick that. If you want to have fun, sure, go ahead and pick the Geb aspect, but I don't think he's all that great currently, along with Cerberus in that same vein. All right, where are we at? Artemis. What do I think about Artemis? I think she's slightly getting worse and worse and worse. Nothing's really changed with her. None of the items really affected her, so she's gonna stay in A plus, but probably below A plus. There are becoming more gods in this game that can shut her down to the point where she's starting to become worse. So you already have the gods that can sort of shut her down, like Odin, Hercules, Sobek, Kabrakan, but now you have Eset. Eset can absolutely destroy Artemis, her 3, her 2, stuff like that. You have Jormungandr, which can pretty much shut her down. Osiris, which absolutely shuts her down. Sun Wukong, Tsukiyomi. You can see there's a lot more gods coming into this game that can kind of counter her pretty easily. The more that you have that, the more gods in the god pool that will be able to shut her down. And I think that's one of the biggest things why she wasn't that great in Smite 1, as opposed to what she is in Smite 2, along with her +1s, which make her better, I think. But currently, I don't think, currently I think she's fine. But as we start to get more gods and more gods that can shut her down, a god like Sylvanas in this game that might be able to shut her down too, she's just not going to be as impactful. However, she does have a CC immune ult, which is very good. She has a stim in her 2, get her away, immune to slows, her 3. She still does a lot of damage, one of the highest DPS ADCs currently, still. But she can be picked pretty easily. But she's still going to be A+. In the future, I think she's probably going to become A, but we'll see. Hecate, I'm going to keep an A+. Still a very good above average god. Her ult can be played at a high level, very good. Even at low level, still very good. Does a lot of damage. Her 3, 2, and 1 have a lot of damage as well. Your standard mage, in my opinion. Vulcan, I think, is going to go up to S. I think he's the amount of damage he does. I think he's going to flip flop between A+ and S. I think his damage is still. I think his damage is a little bit better from Open Beta 15. I don't remember what the builds were in Open Beta 15. I think they're pretty similar to what they are now, if I remember. Anyways, I still think he's going to be your top mage. He was already kind of top A+ anyways, but I feel like the more Vulcans that I ran into, the more annoying they are. It's basically his non-aspect. His aspect I still think is solid, but probably A+, but he's going to be one of your top mages currently right now. All right, Soul. No, I don't think Soul. I think Soul, actually, no, I think Soul's really good. She's going to stay in A+. In both of her build, her aspect and non-aspect is still very good. I don't know which one I would prefer. I guess it just depends on the team comp, but you can go either or, and it's still, you know, very good. Yeah, her ADC build with Vital Amplifier, for example, is still very good even after the nerf. Her full damage, you know, regular mage build is still does a lot of fucking damage. It just depends on the team comp and what you want. Either way, I think she's above average. You know, in the right hands, played correctly into a good team comp, she can be S+. Or S tier, not S+, just S tier. But currently, I think she's a solid A+ character. Same with Raw and same with Cuckoo. They're going to stay here. A lot of them aren't going to change a lot unless, you know, items change or they get buffed or nerfed or certain metas come into play where they benefit off of. Overall, Raw, Hecate, and Cuckoo Khan are going to be your, you know, your mages. They're definitely above average because they can clear, do a lot of damage, have decent setup, have a solid getaway. Not as much with Raw, but he has a CC immune ult, which makes that good. And then Cuckoo, for example, almost mirrors Raw in a way. Not in terms of the abilities, but what they can do. Has a lot of clear in his 3, decent poke in his 1, a very good getaway in his 2, and his ult has a lot of damage. The only difference is that Raw has CC immunity, Cuckoo does not in his ult. But they, you know, they have differences in their kit, but overall similar effects. So I keep them in above A+ average, above average. Rama's gonna go down to A. I haven't been seeing him a lot. I still think he's a little underrated. I don't think he has much change with him. I think other ADCs are just a little bit better with the items as well. I think Rama does a lot of damage, and he has a good getaway in his ult and his 3. Like I said before, you can 3 away ult and then stay in your ult for as long as you can, and then maybe your team arrives, or you can use your 3 again to get away. So I think he's a little underrated. He's gonna be top A, almost borderline A+. But he just hasn't been doing as great as other ADCs in my opinion. Bacchus hasn't been doing great overall, but in Joust I think he shines the most. The amount of CC and damage he does, that's what you really want in Joust, is high CC, damage, good getaway. And he sets up really well for his team, so he's just always be an A+, unless something significant happens, which, you know, could happen. But I think Bacchus is just going to be your standard, always good to go guardian / support in Joust, in my opinion. Doesn't get played a lot though. Chalk is going to stay here too. Has low CDR, so he can spam out his abilities, does a lot of damage. Decent enough, I guess. I think his damage in his kit and utility, like his 3 and his ult, make him better. Otherwise, didn't have that damage, I don't think he'd be really good at all. So that's really his damage and everything. You can kind of go into any team comp and be very good. Ymir hasn't been doing great either, to be honest. Honestly, I'd probably put him in A. He kind of just gets caught out right now. Like I said, a lot of tanks that they're not feeling tanky, at least towards the end. And, you know, Joust has become a quicker game, so you're going to get to the end game a lot quicker. But these guys that don't do a ton of damage or can get, you know, caught out or, you know, interrupted or anything like that, I think aren't going to be doing as good as other tanks that do damage, have good getaway, and stuff like that. So I think he's probably going to be A average mid. He can still do stuff, and he does a decent amount of damage, just not as much as the other gods. And again, Ymir, you know, you have to play him specifically because he does get caught out a lot. Because he doesn't have a movement ability. He has one in his wall, but if you use your wall for something else, you're kind of cooked, essentially. All right, let's see. Zeus I'm going to put in A+. I still think he's very good. He can do a lot of damage. Good into most team comps. He can get caught out, which is the biggest thing about him. He can get caught out, and there's more gods that can catch him become more available in Smite 2, the more he becomes a little bit worse. But right now, I think he's A+, still does a lot of damage, really good for the team. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Anubis. Anubis, I'm going to bring down to A as well. Anubis, I've seen a decent amount of Anubises, but I've kind of just been clobbering them. Now, I don't know if it's because, or it could be the case I'm not going up into the greatest Anubises, or, you know, they're not playing well that game, or whatever, but I've been kind of able to shut them down more and more as we get more gods in. Osiris is kind of like an Anubis counter, let's be honest. He ults them, he ults Anubis, and he kind of just dies. Odin is an Anubis counter. A lot of these new gods, you can kind of blow up Anubis, and he just doesn't do that much. One of the biggest things about Anubis in Smite 1 was he was not good at all. He was pretty bad, to the point where if you played Anubis, you were kind of trolling. He still can be good. I think he's an average / mid god right now. I think there are other mages and other gods that do what he does better, for lack of a better explanation. Yeah, I think he's still good though, because his ult and his one moving and stuff like that, the amount of ticks he can do. So he'd probably be top average, almost borderline A+, but I don't think he's as good as he was. I'll put it there. Kali's here A+. I'm going to keep her here just because of her aspect, the amount of damage you can bump out with her. If you have a specific team comp, you know, can be good. I can't play Kali for shit. I don't know why. The aspect version. I can play a regular Kali fine, but aspect just trips me out. Being not, you know, the difference in between a regular Kali and an aspect Kali just freaks me out. Or not freaks me out, just confuses me. I swear to God. Every time I play this god, aspect version, I'm like, okay, I need to go up close. I'm like, no, wait, no, I'm a hunter. Fuck, I can't do that. I gotta shoot from range. And it just trips me up every time. I have to think about her. I just gotta play her more to really get that. But anyways, it doesn't take away from the fact that she's still really good. I'm going to keep her in A+. The amount of DPS she can do is insane at the end. It can be countered, though. You just go high than Nemean, and she literally kills herself. But still very good. Danza is going to stay here as well. He has this one-shot build. Full intelligence or full strength. I like intelligence better just because of the cooldown and utility. It's still one-shot. You just ult, and you kind of just blow them up. Of course, the counter to that is an Aegis. But he kind of suicides, which is kind of funny a lot. But I still think he's A+ currently. I played him a lot with the one-shot build, and he does work. His regular ADC build's fine, but his one-shot, I think, is where it's at. Thor. Where do I put Thor? I think Thor actually still A+. His aspect specifically, his regular damage is not as great, his non-aspect, but his aspect version still does a decent amount of damage, has a lot of sustain, has good setup, and I think that's what you really want as like a hybrid tank type of support god with Thor. I still think he's very good. Bologna. Where do I put Bologna? Bologna is one of your top solos in ranked Conquest currently, but we're not playing Conquest. She is a toughie because I want to put her in S because I don't, the amount of changes she's had, I think she deserves a better placement. But I literally can't. I don't know if I can put Bologna within those S tier picks I'm looking at. So this is what I'll do. I think Bologna, we're not doing it only for a select few gods, but the gods that I have been talking about, I think deserve, when one of them is Bologna, a higher spot within that tier list. We're not doing that on all gods, just with a couple gods. And I think Bologna is one of them. The amount of damage and, you know, utility she has with certain items, like I talked about earlier, Umbral Link, Sanguine, the amount of damage she can pump out with that. Items like Mantle, Spirit Robe, I mean, I don't know. And you pop into Berserker, she does a fuck ton of damage. It's super good right now. And her ult's very good. You can get in and do a lot of burst. Something that Ama can't do currently is a lot of burst. A lot of her abilities take time to, you know, tick up. Her 2, her ult isn't as sudden as Bologna's is. Her 3 doesn't do as much damage. It takes a second to, you know, throw in. It does have a silence, which is good, but she just doesn't do as much burst as Bologna does right now. I think she's She's going to be your A plus god right now. Top of A plus, not quite S, but close. All right, we're on the bun hats. I think he's still going to be right here. Nothing's changed with him much. His ult isn't nearly as good, which is why he was originally an S. Then I brought him down to like bad, and then I was like, actually, he's not that bad. I was a little overzealous with that. I still think he's a very good god, especially with his aspect. You're not going to do as much damage, but again, Smite is about a lot of, or Joust is about a lot of CC, and him having a CC in his 2, regardless of how impactful his ult is compared to what it was before, he's still an A plus god. You can kind of play him into every team comp and he'll do fine. Ganesh is going to be A plus in both versions, aspect and non-aspect, and you can kind of build them very differently. You know, you can go full tank with his regular non-aspect, you can go sort of hybrid-y, full damage with his non-aspect. Either way, I still think he's very good to the team comp, whatever role he brings. Good in his silence or non-silence in his aspect, does a lot of damage. His ult can cut off, and you can time it with his 3. You kind of just absolutely shred in both versions of his kit aspect and non-aspect. So overall, I think he's going to be one of your above average. You can kind of go into any team comp and do the things. We already went over Artemis. So going on average mid. Slowly but surely knocking this out. So Anubis, Ymir, Rama, Geb, Serb, Amma. On to Guan. I hope I haven't missed anything. I don't think I missed anything. Went over all these gods. Real quick, I just need to go over if I ever meant all these gods here. Yeah, I did. Hope I'm not missing anything. Anyways, Guan Yu going down to B. I think he's bad. I don't know. He's bad in like every game mode. He just doesn't do a lot of damage. He can get interrupted a lot. This is the thing with him in Smite 1. I think it might just be his kit or whatever. Something in the meta is just not working with him, whether it be the items or the certain gods that can shut him down. Every time I go into a Guan, I don't care about him. His horse only does things in his ult. His horse only does things when I'm already low. So it's not like he's doing anything spectacular. He doesn't set up well with his ult. Can be countered a lot. It's kind of hard to play with. It's easy to play around for the most part. You got to be an exceptionally great Guan or have an exceptional build, like the full cooldown build that you can go with him. You can kind of spam out shit. And even at that point, I've gone up against a couple Guans that do that. It's not even necessarily that great. Like his full cooldown build's fine. You can spam and everything. All that does is just kind of perpetuate fights. Like, it doesn't do any more damage. It's just cooldown. I've gone up against a set of Guan like that, and we literally just go in tit for tat. He's just constantly healing, using his 3. I'm still constantly interrupting his 3. I don't remember what god I was using. And we were just going back and forth. I wasn't dying. I was healing. I was using like a self-heal build. He was going his cooldown build, and it was just a stalemate. So even at best, it's just a stalemate and annoying. Now, if you play it right with cooldown, you can just sustain over and over again. That's probably one of the better ways to play him. But that's such a niche playstyle. It's such a niche build. He's just not... You gotta play that at a higher level anyways. I just don't think it's all that great. You have to be in a team comp that will allow you to do that, meaning the players that you play with aren't just going to be goobers and just do whatever the fuck they do, which in Joust they do. So you have to play that with like a specific comp. Anyways, specific people you play with in your comp. I don't think he's all that great at all. So I'm going to put him in B. Sorry. The Morrigan's going to stay in the A, average, mid. She's super hard to play, and even when you play at a high level, sort of like hybrid-y or even just full damage, she just doesn't do all that much. Any Morrigan that I've played with in Conquest or Joust has always shit the bed. Oh my god. So she's one of those gods that, very similar to Uller and Aladdin, at a high level can be absolutely absurd. Play it really well. I don't think they do as much at that high level that Aladdin and Uller do. So, you know, I probably put an A+, but because she can be played really bad too, in that same vein, because she's super hard to play with, she doesn't have that crutch that Aladdin and Uller have when you play at a super high level. So I'm going to keep her an average mid, not very great, but not, you know, not the worst in the world. Emoji, I'm going to be putting A+. Her aspect got buff, and that's specifically why. The amount of damage she can pump out in her aspect version, if you've seen like one of my shorts, is absolutely disgusting. You go Spear of Desolation and she just spams her 2 every single time, so I think she's gonna be A+. And her regular non-aspect is pretty good too. Support is still very good as well. But her aspects where it's at, in my opinion. Izanami's gonna stay here. Nothing much with her. She's, you know, still can do a lot of damage with the Sunbeam Bow and whatnot. But other hunters do what she does better. More hunters are coming into the game that are better than her. Kind of see where she goes in her 3. She can be shut down really easily. All she has is autos, basically. Her ult and her 2, fine, but they're not as significant as other hunters, you know, ults and stuff like that. So she's just going to be average. Fenrir 2, he's slowly becoming better. They're buffing him and stuff like that. I don't know if they nerfed him. I don't remember. I felt like they did, but they did some unique things with his kit. I think he's probably gonna be top of A, not quite the top, but more so top of A. But you can get things done with him in his aspect build and non-aspect if you go full damage and like ADC kind of build. Or not full damage, sorry, full tank ADC kind of build, or even full damage ADC. Either way, he's not played at that high level most of the time anyways. He's not very good in his base form if you're going full ability. He's just not that good in Joust, which is funny because he was at some point like considered a ban in Smite 1 ranked Joust. Nuwa. Where do I put Nuwa? I'm thinking I'm gonna keep her here. Nuwa is actually in ranked Conquest and Conquest in general not bad, but in Joust I don't think she's as good. She can get shut down real easy, a lot harder to do in Conquest than in Joust, in my opinion. With all these dive gods being added, CC heavy gods, she just kind of gets obliterated. So I'm gonna keep her in average. Kefri, he's better. He does a little bit more damage than Smite 2, but I think I've already talked about this. He just still doesn't do as much damage as other gods. He's not that safe. He's a tiny bit harder to play because you got to time his ult, and a lot of people don't. Oh my god, that just reminded me of a time where I played with the Kefri, and he never ulted me. And every time I die, I'd be like, oh shit, whatever. And then I look up to see if his ult's up. I'm like, oh, his ult's up. It's been up, actually. Great. And then I just die, so I don't, you know. I'm going to keep him here. Not very good. Honor, not very good. No, I mean, not the greatest. Sorry. He can still be played at an average level. Anyways, Honor into above average. He's been getting some buffs, and I think he deserves an A+. Specifically in his ult, I think that's made him a lot better, being able to do a lot more damage and have more presence with that build. You can kind of go ADC / damage, building like a crusher and stuff like that. And I think he's very good in that regard. Cernanos is going to be still here, similar to Izanami. He can do a lot of damage, build Sunbeam Bow, stuff like that the other ADCs do. His getaway isn't that great. His ult isn't that great. His 2 is fine. Other hunters do what he does better. Nemesis, I was going to put an S at some point because she was busted and annoying as fuck. I hate her aspect. But her aspect got nerfed enough to where I think she's probably in above average, not in A anymore. Her aspect is still very good. She kind of just kills herself and then uses her aspect on a full tank or a full health god and kind of wins the game. With that being said, they nerfed it. So, and she was an S tier god, now A+, like I said. It's just her aspect's very good. She was already really good she was already played better with that tankier sort of build and stuff like that, but with her aspect that facilitates that even more, I think that makes her a lot better. So she's gonna stay in A+ington. Jingwei I'm actually gonna bring up to A+. This is the other hunter I was talking about. She's been really good with crit right now. Like I said, I've talked about this a lot. The amount of buffs that she's been getting over the past, I don't know, however many open betas at this point, gotta be like 5+. I feel like she's just been getting buff after buff after buff after buff, where there's just gonna be a flip where she just immediately becomes better. They reduced her cooldown by a lot, the damage by a lot. They've done so many different things I can't even remember, outside of the couple of things like cooldown, which they've just been constantly nerfing, or I mean buffing and buffing and buffing. So I think she's at that spot right now where she's starting to become really, really good. Now in Joust, not as much, because I think what she can do in Conquest, she can't in Joust. That is, she has more pressure in Conquest. Like, you can go in other lanes and split push, for example. We can't do that in Smite, or in Joust, sorry. She can still, you know, basically TP to the Lost Knight because of her passive. That's as best as she can do. Outside of that, you can come into team fights, which is a lot better now that crit does a lot, or she does really well with crit. But again, you can still counter crit better in Joust. You go like a tank with a spectral armor and stuff like that. Spectral armor and High the Nemean line can shut her down really quickly, especially if you have 2 tanks, which is the biggest thing about her, is that you go 2 tanks and you can kind of just shut her down if you build accordingly, which I don't think is why I'll put her in S. It's just because the dynamic of a single lane 3 team comp mode like this, I don't think Jinwei is going to do as well as she would in rank Conquest, or Conquest in general, just because it's 3 lanes, so many other things to do, there's so many objectives. You can basically, you're in a lane by yourself for the most part, after the first part of it, and minus the jungle ganks and stuff like that, or ganks in general. You can kind of just kill the team and get fed, and then just, you know, spawn around the map with her passive and do whatever the fuck you want as a fedging way. So it's a lot harder to do in Just, my long-winded way to do, or to say, and it's just the dynamic is a lot different because of that. But she's still pretty significantly better, and that's why I'm putting her above average. Poseidon's gonna stay here. He can still do damage in both his aspect and non-aspect, but he still gets caught out. No CC immunity. Double tank kind of shuts him down. He's better into you know, a traditional team, into another traditional team or something like that. He has a lot of pressure with his 3 ult out of nowhere. You can throw it over the wall, stuff like that. So he can still get stuff done, but he can be punished just as easy. Hades is going to stay here too. I haven't seen a goddamn Hades in a while, but the little that I have seen Hades, I've kind of just annihilated them. He is a lot better than he was, so I'm not going to put him below average, but I'm not going to put him in A+ either, because he can be shut down. He's got, it's weird because he's got more items that he can play with, and you would think he'd be a lot better with like hybrid, even full damage, or even tankier, because he has a lot of CC and stuff like that. But you can kind of do whatever the fuck you want against him. He uses his 1, you kind of just kill him. You use his ult, most gods can get out of it in some capacity. So that's just through the itemizations. You know, items that weren't in Smite 1 that are in Smite 2, like some actives, like the boar, for example. I mean, you see people use boar as a full damage ADC or full damage mage, for example. Zeus uses it a lot. You can use boar just to get out of it because you don't have a lot of you know, CC immunity. You can kind of do that. There really isn't a lot that Hades can do against these gods. You can play accordingly against him, and you can do what the hell you want. So there's so many different things that make him not as great. Hua Mulan, I think, is definitely going to be A+. I think a lot of the changes they made to her in her passive, in her banner, for example, making that a lot better. I believe they increased the movement speed, or something to do with the movement speed when you look at or maybe they fixed a bug. I don't remember exactly what it was, but at one point she was really good, and I almost would want to put her in S, but they nerfed her a little bit, and so I think she's probably going to be A+. But definitely pretty good right now. Pele, I'm going to keep an A just because of her aspect. Her aspect, you can do more things, stuff like that. Her regular stuff, you kind of just suicide and don't get any kills. But in Joust, she still can kind of get CC'd to death. You can't really backline because you have so many CC gods. She's a lot better in your traditional team comps if you're going up against one like that. But overall, she's not as great. Still A. Mercury is going to be B. He's not really good. You can counter him anyway. The only time he can kind of do what he wants, if you're a really good Mercury and you ult, and you somehow get the tank and the backline, you can just one-shot the backline and get the fuck out of dodge. That's still very hard to do. You still got Spectral. You still got a lot of CC in this game. You got beads now, team beads, which is a lot better now. They buffed that. So, I mean, even when you do that, it's sort of hard to do. You can kind of counter the fuck out of him. Already talked about Guan Yu. Panda's going to stay down here too. He's just too single target minded, and his aspect's better for this game mode, but I don't think it's as significant. His scythe is fine. You can throw it out and do that whatnot to the back line, but he's super hard to play. He can get shut down. He usually just ends up using his ult and running away, from my experience. Loki, I'm going to bring into A+, just specifically because of his aspect. His aspect's really good. You have a lot of, why can't I think of it? Damage mitigation in his 2. You pair that up with other gods that have damage mitigation, like Osiris or Jormungandr, and you kind of don't take any damage. And on top of that, he does a lot of damage in his 1 and his 2 now. His 1 doesn't do as much damage, or doesn't do damage at all, really, but it makes them blind, and you can pair it with your 3 or any other abilities and autos, and you can still do extra crit in his passive. So I think that's also what makes him a lot better. A+ in my opinion. Susano, not good. You'll see a lot of these junglers that can kind of carry or do a lot of damage in Conquest, just because they have the jungle to come out of nowhere and do it. In Joust, you can't do that. It's a single lane, basically. You could do it, but it's not as easy to do now, especially when you have regular wards that you have every single game that you can throw out. So you never really will get sneak attack unless you don't ward or anything like that. She gets shut down and stuff like that. Very similar to a Wheelix. You kind of know where she's going to be. You got wards. She kind of does the same thing. Knock up. You can pair her up with some gods that make her better with the knock up and stuff like that. But unless you're really good at Wheelix, she's not going to be really great. Athena, I'm also going to... her buffs have been significant. I'll put her in average. I think she's gotten better. But not by much. I think they reduced her cooldown so she can kind of spam that more often. It's just another thing that, very similar to Geb and Cerberus, she does one thing, and that's CC. She doesn't do a lot of damage. Cerberus can still do damage, just doesn't seem as much as it was in Smite 1. And the same thing with Athena. She can ult and save stuff all the time and set up, but that's all she does. If your team dies and you don't have any damage, you can't fight, really. Not like a Sobek. Sobek, if your team dies, you can still do stuff. With Athena, your team dies, that's it. You gotta run away. So she's not all that great for that reason. On to the new gods. Oh my god, this is a long video. Anyways, we'll get into it. ESET. S+ broken. Now, I say she's broken basically because of her aspect. Yes, it's in tandem with her aspect and her low cooldown. On top of the fact that you can build a low cooldown build, she has very significantly low cooldowns, just base cooldowns. And she builds a lot of cooldown to begin with in her non-aspect and regular aspect. So she does, or she spams out her abilities all the time. You can basically CC chain someone forever, especially when you pair it with other gods that have a lot of CC, like Hercules, Sobek, Kabrakan, all these gods. You pair that up, they just don't move, basically. ESET's 3 lasts how long? Like 3 to 4 seconds? I never timed it. It's a fucking long silence. You pair that with her 2, which stuns, and then just pair that with other gods. I mean, that's all. Well, even if you're just a solo ESET, there's so many things you can do with that, and set up for your team and do a lot of damage. And on top of that, if you use your 3 and near your team and you use your 1, you get a better Afro heal, and it comes up every like 4 to 5 seconds. And you have an ult that does damage mitigation and does damage and heals. Are you out of your mind? What the fuck? She is so fucking good. She does everything. Her damage isn't the most significant thing. Like, her damage isn't all that great if you're going aspect. But what she makes up with that is everything else that she has is absolutely disgusting. You pair a good team with her and she carries. Just for the sheer fact that your backline can free cast, or your front line at that point too. I think currently they need to nerf her cooldown, her base cooldowns by a lot. They may need to change the amount, how long her 3 silences for, and something else. I don't know. Maybe the healing in her 1. It's really her cooldowns though, and I think she's because of that though, she's definitely S tier broken. Yanis. Have I not talked about Yanis? I feel like I've talked about Yanis. Anyways, Yanis I'm going to put in A. Just because he's always had the issues in Smite 1 is that he can get CC'd a lot. And a lot of times he will just run away. He can survive a lot, but he just doesn't do all that much around the map in terms of doing damage. And he does damage, but if you use your 1 wrong, or you don't have your 1-up, or you don't have your ult up, or you don't have your beads, he kind of just dies. He can be easy to counter. I would say he's an average just because at a high level you can play him really well, right? But at a intermediate level or beginner level, I don't think he can do too much. So I would say that because of that, he's going to be A. Jormungandr. Yeah, A+. I think Jormungandr is going to be still really good. He was kind of mid, I believe, at the beginning when they first released him, but they buffed him a little bit, and I think he's pretty good in his aspect and non-aspect. He does a lot of damage. He's got a good getaway, and he's got decent he's got decent CC. He's got decent everything. It's really his damage when you pair it all together. He's pretty solid. Osiris is going into A+2. If you pair a certain team comp with him and as well as you play him correctly, I would argue he's S tier. But a lot of people don't. For example, if you pair Osiris with a Loki and like a top S tier top picks here, like Mage or something, or ADC, he absolutely fucks and doesn't die. But overall, I think he's still very good in like a regular kind of format where you're just like playing him just to play him in like a tanky type of build, stuff like that. But you play him correctly with a correct build, correct team comp, he's unstoppable sometimes. Sun Wukong I'm going to put an A+2 in both his aspect and non-aspect. Before they nerfed his aspect, I would put him in S. But because they nerfed his aspect, sorry, I feel like here's something. Somebody's in my house. I don't know. Sun Wukong, in his aspect, did a lot of damage, and yeah, it was kind of broken, and I would have put him in S, but because they nerfed it, he's going to be an A+. I still think he does a lot of damage. In both forms, they're pretty much the same in terms of whether or not you want to go either or. I still like the aspect version going full damage hybrid just because it's more fun to do. But overall, I think they're both, pretty good to go into, and I'll put him in A+. Tsukiyomi, I think he's going to be A. They nerfed him enough to where I don't think he's A+ average anymore. It's specifically his damage in his aspect and non-aspect. He just doesn't do as much. So now he doesn't do as much damage, and he just kind of, what he does is he, very similar to Paley, he gets in there, gets a lot of damage in, and then just dies. And so now, since they kind of nerfed his damage, he kind of just goes in, does a lot of damage, not as much as he was before, and then just dies. So I think he's probably going to be, average mid, in my opinion. And then Xbalanque, finally, the last god, is going to go straight into S in both forms. His aspect before it got nerfed was the best god in the game. But now, even in both forms, in his regular form, in his ADC form, it's always been good. He's still super good. Joust has always been his game mode ever since like the end last couple of patches, a couple years in Joust, he was top pick. And it's just because he just does so much damage in DPS. You pair him with like a super high CC team and he just free casts. And then his aspect, if you want to go full mage burst build, he can do that as well. Not as much as he was before, but still does a lot of damage. You can spam it out with like a Mirrodin and stuff, and he still gets stuff done. Not as much as he used to, my god, but still very good. I still think both are probably S tier picks. He's probably going to be, outside of maybe Medusa, your best ADC god currently, in my opinion. I think he's a little underrated. Not a lot of people play him in the ADC form, or a lot in general. I don't know how great he is in Conquest. I think he's still solid in Conquest, but in Joust he's way better. And then there you have it. There is your list. This is a little bit longer. They're going to get longer as more gods get into this game. So I might have to zip through these quicker. I might have to add another tier here too at some point once they start to get more gods in this game, because if you don't know, there's like 130 gods and we're only half of them in here. So yeah, there it is. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna go compare this to the one in open beta 15, and then we'll go from there. All right, here we are. Actually, wait, let me shrink this down a little bit. Okay, now you can see everything. Here we are. Doesn't on my face. Here we have open beta 15, and then here we have our open beta 21. I will say I forgot to talk about Sylvanas. I think Sylvanas is going to be A plus. Currently, I mean, they added a lot of things in his aspect and his regular form, and I think his aspect's probably going to be a little bit better than his maybe his regular form. I think they're going to be pretty similar though. He's going to be A plus, above average. The new things that they've changed was they added the fact that you can grab his plant in his 3 now, and it gives you like mana aura on him to you and your team. On top of that, I believe once you get below 40% health in hit, once you grab your plant, you procs your 2 again, and it heals you. Other things, like if you throw out your plant and you grab it with your 3 and you ult, you can now have proc shred too. So you know, a lot of +1s. Now you can revive your plant too with your 2, which is going to be a lot better now. You can either revive it, or if you use your 2, it gives you and your team protections, I believe now, within that field. So he's going to be a lot better. I think he's going to be a better support, and then his aspect's going to make him an ADC. You can look at that at another time. It's really good. Either way, I think he's going to be A plus for the people who got to this point and talked about Sylvanas. Anyways. So you can see Aphrodite is changed down to 1. I never thought I'd see the day. Sobek's still up there. Crazy. Kabrakan's up there just because of his aspect. Eset's up there. Again, cooldown aspect. Nothing crazy changed here. Herc's gone up a little bit. Barry still the same. Apollo, Medusa. Shablanque wasn't in the game, but now is. Very good. In S tier. Agni, still good. Baron, Ares, Odin. So a lot of these gods, again, a lot of them aren't going to change. A lot of them will. Going to be going up and down, which is why I don't like doing a lot of these tier lists right after a new open beta, just because after a while is when, you know, you'll see some consistent changes. Scylla, Achilles has gone up, Vulcan's gone up, Cupid's gone down. Amma, that's a big one change. I don't think she's very good at all. I might be a little contentious there, but we'll see. Bellona is still the same, but a little bit better. Still in the same tier though. Soul, Cupid now down 1. Merlin, oh yeah, Merlin's down 1. Uller down 1. I think that's pretty much it. Some new ones that's been added. We got Osiris, Wukong, Jormungandr, Loki. Loki's gone up because of his aspect. Mulan's gone up. Jingwei, Anher, Nemesis, Yamoja. So a lot of these guys actually have gone up. Anubis went down. A lot of these other tanks have gone down, like Serb, Geb, and Ymir. Tsukiyomi, a new one. A. Not really anything crazy. Same with Yanis as well. Athena's gone up a little bit. And then you still got your bottom tier picks, pretty similar in my opinion. But there you go. Let's go ahead and go back to this tier list. All right, we're back. Here we are. So this is your tier list. If you want to screenshot it, I'm not going to put it here, but Sylvanas will be in your A plus from what I can predict. Obviously, this is a prediction because he's not out yet. We'll just have to see once he's here how good he actually is. But my prediction's A plus, just to cover that open beta as well. So. Again, open beta 21, things will change. This is what I think so far. Tell me what you guys think. If I got anything wrong, or think I'm just so right that you want to tell me, you know, all those good things. If you like these videos, please like, comment, subscribe. It goes a long way. Discord in the description down below if you want to join. Twitch in the description down below as well. I go live pretty much every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I haven't in a while just because I've moved and stuff, so you notice in the background. If not, that's okay. Let's see what else. Memberships are open for $2.99 a month and 99 cents a month if you so desire, but not necessary, but very much appreciated if you do. But yeah, tell me what you guys think of the tier list. Other than that, basically everything I have for you. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching.